The sun was cruel that day. It burned across the dusty hills of California like a fire in the sky. The year was 1853, and men had come from every corner of Earth, chasing one dream. Gold. Elijah Granger was just another name among thousands. He had no family, no friends, and very little hope left. But he had one thing most others didn't: patience. While the others fought over claims and drank their days away, Elijah worked alone in a forgotten canyon where even the crows didn't bother to fly. His hands were cracked. His boots were torn, but still he dug. On this day, the wind was strange. It didn't howl or blow at HUMMED. Elijah paused mid-swing. His pickaxe stopped in the air. He turned his ear toward the rocky wall. A soft, pulsing vibration touched his skin, like a heartbeat hiding beneath the ground. What in the devil? He muttered. He dropped to his knees and brushed the surface. The dirt was warmer than the sun could explain. Then, just under a thin layer of gravel, his fingers touched something smooth. Like glass, but not glass. It pulsed with light. He dug faster, his heart racing. The shape revealed itself slowly, a curved shell, like an egg, but larger than any animal could lay. Its surface glowed with golden veins, as if real gold was flowing through it. Then, it cracked. Elijah stumbled back, heart thudding. The shell split down the middle, and a hiss of steam rose up. The smell was strange, like burning flowers. Inside lay a girl, not a girl like any he'd seen before. She was small, delicate, and curled tightly like a sleeping child. Her skin shimmered with a soft violet glow, and her hair floated around her like silver threads in water. She wasn't breathing, but she wasn't dead either. Elijah looked around. No one was near. He stepped forward slowly and touched her shoulder. Warm, her eyes snapped open. They were enormous, pure silver, no whites, no pupils. She didn't scream, she didn't move. She just stared at him. Elijah's voice broke. What are you?" The girl blinked. Her mouth moved, but no sound came. She coughed softly, and something like glitter spilled from her lips. She was hurt, weak, confused. He didn't know why he did it. Maybe it was the way she looked at him, not with fear, but with trust. Like she had waited for him. Elijah took off his coat and wrapped it around her glowing body. She shivered. Her skin flickered like a candle about to go out. "Can't let the others see you," he whispered. "If the other miners found her, they'd think she was a monster, or worse, something to sell. They would chain her, cut her open, maybe even kill her for science or gold." Elijah lifted her carefully. She weighed almost nothing. As he walked back toward his tent, her fingers curled around his wrist. She was cold. So cold. Inside the tent, he laid her on his cot and covered her with every blanket he had. He lit a lantern and watched her breathe slow, shaky breaths. She stared at him again. This time, her lips moved differently. She said something. "Shah." "Yeah, nah. I don't understand you," he said softly. The girl blinked slowly. Then, she reached out and touched his chest with 2 fingers. Light traveled up her fingers and into his skin. Elijah gasped. In his mind, images flashed: stars, a burning sky, a pod flying through darkness, crashing into earth, pain, cold, then nothing. He backed away, breathing hard. "You're not from here," he said, barely believing his own voice. "You came from out there." She nodded just once. A sound outside made him freeze. Footsteps, voices. "Elijah," a man shouted. "Heard you struck something." He blew out the lantern and dropped to the floor, holding the girl's hand tight. More footsteps, boots. "Closer." He whispered, "Don't make a sound." The girl obeyed. Outside, the voices faded. The danger passed for now. Elijah looked at her again. She was still glowing faintly, but weaker than before. He realized something terrifying and beautiful at the same time. She wasn't gold. She wasn't a treasure. She was alive. And maybe, just maybe, she was worth more than all the gold in California. Asterisk, the girl didn't speak much. In fact, she hadn't said a single word that Elijah could understand. But she didn't need to. That night, as the winds howled across the dry canyon and the stars blinked down like cold watchers in the sky, Elijah sat by the edge of his tent, staring at her. She lay still on his cot, the silver glow of her skin now dim like fading moonlight. Every few minutes her fingers twitched. Her breathing was soft, too soft, like it could stop at any moment. Elijah had seen dying men. He had heard final breaths. He didn't want to hear hers. He pulled the blanket up to her chin and whispered, "You need to stay alive, little star." The girl blinked slowly, her strange silver eyes searching his face. Then she reached for the dirt beside her. With one delicate finger, she began drawing something in the dust. A circle, then lines, then more circles. Elijah frowned. "Is that a map?" She paused, looked at him, and nodded once. It wasn't a map of any land he knew. There were no rivers, no mountains, just a cluster of stars and one glowing point in the center. She tapped it. "You? Is that where you came from?" She tilted her head. Elijah didn't know if she understood, but something deep in his gut told him she was trying. Night grew colder. The fire crackled weakly. Somewhere in the hills, coyotes cried out. And then, footsteps. Elijah froze. Not one. Several. Voices followed. "You see the way he ran out the canyon today?" "Yeah, carried something. Not gold. Too careful. You think he's hiding a nugget? Or something better?" Elijah cursed under his breath. He rose quickly, put out the fire, and peeked out of the tent. 3 men. Dirty, tired, and armed. He recognized them, Dusty Jim, Old Cale, and Martin the cook. Not friends, not enemies. Just men desperate for gold. And willing to kill for it. They were close now, whispering just outside the canvas. "You hear that? Humming again? Hear it. It's coming from here." Elijah reached for his pickaxe slowly, his body tense. Inside, the girl suddenly sat up. Her glow returned, faint but visible. The humming sound, the same he'd heard in the canyon, rose once more. Like a warning, he turned to her and whispered, "No, not now, please." But she looked afraid too. She pointed at the ground and then at the entrance. Her fingers glowed. Elijah's heart pounded. "Inside!" Jim shouted. The canvas was thrown open. The 3 men burst in, then froze. Eyes wide. "What the hell is that?" Martin gasped. The alien girl stared at them, unmoving. Her eyes glowing, hair floating slightly, even without wind. Old Cale muttered, "Is that some kind of spirit?" Jim raised his gun. "No spirit glows like that." Elijah stepped in front of her. "You'll have to go through me first." "Step aside, Granger," Martin said. "We don't want no trouble." "She's not gold," Elijah said. "She's not a thing. She's alive." "She's not human," Jim barked. "She's not dangerous either." The alien girl rose behind him, her feet barely touching the ground. Her body shimmered like crystal in moonlight. Then, she made a sound. A high, soft hum. Not from her mouth, from the air around her. It pulsed through the tent, through their bones, like a wave of sadness and fear. The 3 men backed up, confused and stunned. And then she collapsed. Elijah turned and caught her just in time. "Enough!" he shouted. "Get out before I bury you in this canyon." The men looked at one another. Cale spoke first. "This ain't right. Ain't natural." "No," Jim added, backing up. "It's worse. It's alien." They fled, tripping over their boots as they ran into the dark. When they were gone, Elijah laid her back down gently. Her body flickered like a fading light. "You used your power to scare them," he whispered, brushing her cold forehead. "But it cost you." She blinked, weakly. Then, with trembling fingers, She pointed again at the map and the dirt dot at the glowing point in the stars. And then, with her fingertip, she drew a small figure like a person, and beside it, another smaller. A child? No, Elijah whispered. You're not alone, are you? She gave a faint nod. They're coming? Another slow nod. Elijah looked at the sky, where stars still glittered coldly above. He didn't know what scared him more, the fact that she was dying, or the fact that someone or something was on its way. The sky turned pale with morning light, but Elijah hadn't slept. He sat on a wooden crate outside his tent, his hands covered in dust, his eyes staring at nothing. Inside, the alien girl was silent, too silent. Her breathing was light, her glow even dimmer than before. She needed help, but help didn't exist out here. Not for her. The camp had already started to change. Men were talking. Rumors moved faster than wildfire. Elijah found something strange. He's hiding a creature. Saw lights glowing from his tent. Some called it witchcraft. Others thought it was gold, cursed and glowing. And some whispered the word alien, though most laughed at the idea. But even those who laughed were watching. By midday, Elijah knew someone had gone through his things. His supplies were scattered. A strange marking was scratched into the back of his shovel, a symbol he didn't recognize. Then he noticed something else. The girl's map drawn in the dirt inside the tent was gone, wiped clean. She hadn't done it. She hadn't moved all morning. So who had? That night, he didn't light a fire. He didn't sleep either. He just waited. And at midnight, the footsteps returned. Slow, careful. A shadow moved near the edge of the tent. Elijah gripped his pickaxe and whispered, "I know you're there." The figure paused, then stepped into the dim light. It was Thomas, a young miner, barely more than a boy, with messy hair and a look of guilt in his eyes. "I didn't mean to scare you," Thomas said quickly. I needed to see her again." Elijah narrowed his eyes. "What do you mean again?" "I came by earlier. Saw her through the flap. I didn't hurt anything. I couldn't believe it. She looked like a dream." "She's not a dream. She's real, and she's dying." Thomas looked inside. The alien girl lay still under a worn blanket, her silver hair tangled, her glow fading fast. "What is she?" he asked. "I don't know," Elijah replied honestly. "But she's not from here. She's scared. She's weak. And this world's too cruel for someone like her." Thomas knelt beside her and whispered, "She's beautiful." "She's alive," Elijah said firmly. "And that should be enough." Thomas stood slowly. "I didn't tell anyone, I swear." "You better keep it that way." He nodded. "But others know something's up. I heard Martin's planning to come back. Not alone this time." Elijah's grip on the pickaxe tightened. "Why are you telling me this?" he asked. Thomas looked at him with honest, scared eyes. "Because I don't think they want to talk. I think they're going to take her, or worse." Elijah closed his eyes for a moment, then made a decision. "Help me move her." Thomas blinked. "What? She can't stay here. It's not safe. There's an old cave north of here, behind the dry riverbed. We hide her there, somewhere no one goes. But if they catch us, they won't, not if we move fast." Together, under the cover of darkness, they wrapped the alien girl in thick cloth and carried her between them, carefully, like a secret too precious to speak of. The journey was slow. The girl didn't move. Her skin felt colder now. Elijah's heart pounded with fear at every step. They reached the cave just before dawn. It was hidden behind a cluster of rocks, nearly invisible unless you knew it was there. Inside, the air was cool and damp. The roof glowed faintly from strange crystals embedded in the stone. She opened her eyes when they placed her down. "Elijah," Thomas whispered. "I think she's trying to say something." The girl weakly lifted her hand and pointed at the glowing cave ceiling. Then with one finger, she traced a shape in the dust again. This time, a star. No, a falling star. A pod. Her pod. She crashed here, Elijah murmured. She's been trying to survive. Ever since. Suddenly, a noise echoed from outside. Boots. Voices. Elijah and Thomas ducked down quickly. Saw them come this way. He's hiding her in the canyon, I swear. It was Martin's voice, and he wasn't alone. 4 others followed him. All armed. They're close, Elijah whispered. Too close. Thomas looked pale. What do we do? The alien girl reached for Elijah's arm. Her fingers lit up faintly enough to cast a circle of light on the cave wall. And then, it moved. The stone shifted with a soft grinding sound, revealing a smaller tunnel behind the wall. She's showing us a way out, Elijah breathed. Thomas stared in awe. She opened the rock. No time to wonder, let's go. Elijah picked her up carefully, and the 2 of them slipped into the hidden tunnel just as Martin's angry voice echoed through the main cave. Spread out, I know she's here. And, just like that, Elijah disappeared into darkness, carrying something more precious than gold. While the world around him began to hunt. The hidden tunnel twisted deep into the earth, like the roots of an old, angry tree. Elijah's legs burned with each step as he carried the alien girl through the darkness, her body cold and barely glowing now. Thomas followed behind, holding a broken lantern. The light flickered weakly, like a heartbeat about to stop. How much? Farther, Thomas whispered, his voice trembling. I don't know, Elijah replied. We just keep going until we don't hear them anymore. Behind them, shouts echoed from the main cave. Men were cursing, smashing rocks, searching like wild animals. Greed had turned them blind, but greed could also make men dangerous. Elijah could feel it now. This wasn't just about curiosity anymore. Word had spread through the gold camp faster than fire. And when greedy men heard that Elijah was hiding something not of this earth, they didn't care what it was. They only cared about what it could be worth, even if it bled, even if it cried. After what felt like hours, the narrow tunnel opened into a quiet hollow chamber. It was silent, except for a soft hum coming from the glowing crystals lining the walls. They laid the alien girl gently in the center. Her breathing was weak. Her glow was almost gone. She won't make it like this, Thomas said. She needs help, real help. Elijah knelt beside her. Her silver eyes blinked slowly, almost as if she was trying to say goodbye. No, he said softly. Don't you dare. He took off his coat and wrapped her in it. Then he looked around and saw something strange carved into the cave wall symbols. Some matched the ones she had drawn in the dirt before. She's been here before, Elijah whispered. This cave was part of her crash. Suddenly, the crystals above began to pulse. The alien girl raised one hand weakly toward the symbols. Her fingers glowed faintly, and a soft tone filled the chamber like music played underwater. A small section of the wall shifted again, revealing something, a small round pod no bigger than a melon. It floated gently in midair, spinning slowly. It glowed with the same soft light as her. She's calling to it, Thomas said. No, Elijah said. It's calling to her. The girl reached toward it, but her hand dropped. She was too weak. Elijah stood. We bring it to her. Together, they pulled the object from the air. It was warm, humming like a purring animal, and placed it near her chest. The moment it touched her skin, the glow around her body began to return. Not fast, but enough to see her breathe deeper. Her eyes opened again, more alert than before. She's healing. Thomas breathed in wonder. Elijah smiled, but his joy didn't last long. Outside the cave, voices returned. Louder, closer, and this time, they weren't guessing, they knew. Told you they had some kind of magic orb. Whatever it is, he's hiding it. How much do you think it's worth in New York? Or even London? Enough to kill for. Elijah grabbed the pickaxe. They found us. Thomas stepped back in fear. They'll never stop, not until they have her. Then we make them stop, Elijah said, his voice firm. We hold them off, or die trying. But before either man could move, the girl suddenly stood. She wobbled, but stood. And then she spoke. Not in her alien tongue but in English. Broken, but clear. Double quotes, please. No more blood. Elijah froze. You can speak? She nodded slowly. I learn from you. How? She touched his chest. Your heart speaks loud, Thomas gasped. What is she? The girl looked at them both, then at the floating pod. I'm messenger. Not soldier, not weapon. Messenger from where? Elijah asked. She looked up at the ceiling, at the stars drawn in crystal. Double quotes, home. Gun. I fell here. More footsteps echoed. Torches lit the tunnel behind them, and then Martin appeared. He had 5 men with him, all armed. He raised his rifle. Move aside, Elijah. This is your last chance. The alien girl stood between Elijah and the rifle. I won't let you hurt them, she said clearly. Martin's hand shook. What the hell is she? A living being, Elijah said. Not a prize. Martin's eyes narrowed. Then you're dying for nothing. He pulled the trigger, but nothing came out. The gun jammed. Before Martin could react, the girl raised her hand. A wave of light burst from her palm, soft, not violent, but powerful enough to send the men flying back. Unconscious. Silence returned. She collapsed into Elijah's arms again. Tears filled his eyes. You saved us, he whispered. She weakly smiled. You saved me first. The sun had not yet risen when Elijah carried her again. His arms shook. His back ached. But he didn't stop. She was breathing. Yes, but every breath was a struggle. Every second, her glow dimmed and brightened like a flickering candle trapped in the wind. Thomas ran ahead, clearing the narrow path through the canyon. The ground was dry and cracked beneath their boots. In the distance, the horizon turned purple as morning tried to break through the long night. She needs help, Elijah, Thomas whispered. Real help. There's no doctor who can treat someone like her, Elijah said. But maybe what? Elijah looked up at the stars still shining overhead. Maybe her people are still looking for her. They had no map, no guide. Only the faint, pulsing hum that came from the strange orb still wrapped in Elijah's coat. The orb seemed to know where it wanted to go. It pulled gently in one direction, always north. And so they followed it. They traveled deep into lands untouched by man, through cliffs and windswept valleys, across sharp rocks and dead rivers. And then the orb stopped glowing. They stood on a plateau surrounded by nothing but jagged hills and silence. That's it? Thomas asked. We came all this way, for nothing? But the alien girl slowly raised her head and pointed to a large rock formation, shaped like a circle. Cracks ran along its center, and strange symbols were carved into the surface. She remembers, Elijah said softly. They walked toward the stone. As they got closer, the orb in his coat started to vibrate again. It slipped from his arms and floated on its own straight to the center of the stone circle. Then it pulsed once, twice, 3 times. The ground trembled. Thomas stumbled backward. What's happening? From the sky above, the clouds parted. A beam of light, soft and blue, shot down and touched the orb. Elijah held the girl close. Her eyes opened wide, silver and bright again. I called. They come, she whispered. Then they heard it, a deep, thunder-like hum from above. Elijah looked up. At first, it was just a shape in the clouds. Then the shape grew. It was not a bird, not a ship. It was something between both. A large, smooth vessel hovered silently in the air, like a whale swimming through the sky. Its surface reflected the stars, and its lights blinked slowly, calm, controlled, intelligent. They're here, Thomas breathed. Her people. Elijah stepped back as the alien girl slowly stood on her own. The orb flew toward the ships. Light, and the rock circle glowed brighter, becoming a portal of sorts. A gentle wind blew outward, not hard, not violent, but welcoming. But just when the moment felt peaceful, a gunshot echoed through the air. Elijah turned fast. Martin, bleeding, bruised, but alive and angry. "You think you can run?" he shouted, rifle in hand. "You think you can just give away a creature like that? She belongs to all of us." He fired again. The bullet hit Elijah in the shoulder. He fell to the ground with a cry, pain flooding his body. "No!" The girl screamed her first real scream. Her silver glow burst into a blinding flash. Martin's gun melted in his hands. His knees gave out, and he collapsed in the dirt, unconscious. The light dimmed. Elijah coughed, blood on his shirt. He blinked up at the girl. "You have to go," he whispered. She knelt beside him, eyes wide and wet. "No, you saved me. You don't belong here," he said, struggling to breathe. "They'll keep coming. Run, little star, run with the sky." The beam from the ship lowered. A shape descended, another being. Not human. Tall, wrapped in silver light, hands like energy. It looked at her. She looked at Elijah. Then she leaned close and kissed his forehead lightly, like a breath. "I never forget you." Elijah smiled weakly. "That's all I need." She stood, took one step toward the beam, then stopped. She turned back, held up a glowing crystal, and gently placed it in Elijah's bloody hand. He looked at it. Inside the crystal, stars swirled. Galaxies danced. Then she walked into the light. The sky swallowed her. The ship rose slowly, disappearing behind the clouds as if it had never come. Silence returned. Elijah closed his eyes. And for the first time in years, he felt at peace. Days passed. Elijah woke up in a haze of pain and light. He was in a small wooden hut, someone else's. His shoulder was bandaged, his arm stiff. The crystal she gave him still sat in his hand, warm and glowing faintly. Every time he tried to let go, it pulsed softly, as if it didn't want to be left behind. Thomas sat beside the bed, his clothes torn, his face pale but calm. "You almost died," Thomas said quietly. "Almost," Elijah whispered. "But I didn't." Thomas nodded slowly. "She saved you again." Elijah looked toward the window. Outside, the sky was clear, but the world didn't feel the same. "Not to him. She left," he murmured. "She did," Thomas replied. "But not before giving you something." He pointed to the crystal in Elijah's hand. Elijah stared at it. Inside the small orb, stars moved like living things. Tiny galaxies spun, and sometimes it felt like he could hear a song. A song made of light. "She called it home," Elijah whispered. Thomas leaned closer. "Do you think they'll come back?" Elijah shook his head. "Not now, not yet. They came for her, and now they're gone." Thomas sighed. "The others still think you're hiding something." "Martin didn't die. He's telling everyone you helped an alien escape." Elijah looked down at his bandaged chest. "Let them think what they want. I didn't help a monster. I helped a girl who was lost." Thomas stood. "That might not be enough. There's talk of bringing in soldiers, scientists. They want answers. They want proof." Elijah gripped the crystal tightly. "They won't find anything." "But you have this," Thomas said. "They'll take it from you." Elijah looked at the glowing orb in his hand. "No, this is mine. She gave it to me, not for study. Not for selling, for keeping." That night, Elijah left the camp. Quietly, without a word. He walked into the canyons under a starless sky, alone. The crystal lit his path like a soft torch. He didn't go back to the cave. He didn't go to town. He walked to the hill where she had left. The wind there was softer, like it remembered her. The rock circle still stood, but the cracks had faded. The stone looked normal now, lifeless. He sat down and watched the sky. No ship. No hum. No sign of her. Just silence. And yet, he felt something. In his heart. A presence. A whisper. A thank you. The next day, a young girl from the nearby village found him sitting on the hill. She said he didn't move for hours. Just stared at the sky. When she approached, he smiled at her gently and said, "She's safe now." The girl didn't understand, but she nodded anyway. From that day forward, Elijah changed. He didn't dig for gold anymore. He built a small cabin near the rock formation, far from town. He lived quietly, growing his own food, keeping to himself. He didn't tell anyone what happened. Not even when the soldiers came asking. They searched the area for weeks. They found nothing. The cave had collapsed. The orb was gone. Even the strange symbols had faded into dust. Some believed Martin had gone mad. Others believed Elijah had struck gold and was hiding it. But Elijah knew better. He had seen something no one else ever would, and he had felt something even rarer than gold. Compassion. Connection. A life not from this world that touched his in a way no human ever had. He often sat under the stars, holding the crystal. It still glowed, though softer now, and sometimes he would close his eyes and hear a voice. "I never forget you." Years passed. The gold rush ended. The camps disappeared. The hills grew quiet again. But if someone dared to climb the lonely mountain during a clear night, they might see a strange light flickering at the top. And if they looked closer, they'd find an old man sitting peacefully, a small crystal glowing in his palm and in his eyes. Stars. Years had passed. The world moved on. The California hills that once echoed with shouts of gold-hungry men now stood quiet. Trees grew where tents once stood. Rivers ran clear again. The gold was mostly gone, but so were the people. Only one man remained, Elijah Granger. His hair had turned white. His hands had grown thin. But his eyes still held the same quiet fire they did all those years ago, the night he carried a glowing alien girl through the dark and saved her life. Or maybe she saved his. He lived in a small wooden cabin near the stone ring on the ridge. Most people thought he was just a strange old miner who never struck gold. But the truth was, he found something greater. Every evening, Elijah walked to the circle of stones and sat with the crystal she had given him. It never stopped glowing. Not even once. In his final years, he no longer spoke much. But sometimes, villagers who passed by claimed they saw him talking to the stars, as if someone up there was listening, and maybe someone was. One cold evening, a young girl named Hannah climbed the ridge to deliver firewood. Her mother said Elijah always paid in kindness, and that was worth more than coin. When Hannah reached the top, she found Elijah sitting near the glowing crystal, tears on his cheeks. She stepped closer. "Sir?" she asked gently. Elijah didn't look away from the sky. "Did you know," he said softly, "I once held the stars in my arms?" Hannah blinked. "What do you mean?" He smiled faintly. "There was a girl, not from this world, lost, scared, cold. But I didn't see danger. I saw someone who needed help." He touched the crystal beside him. It pulsed. "She gave me this, said it was home. But what she didn't know is that she became mine." The wind whispered through the canyon. The sky turned orange as the sun began to set. "I think, Elijah," said, voice weak now, "that tonight will be the night." "What night?" Hannah asked. "The night she comes back." Hannah didn't understand, but she stayed beside him. Elijah looked at the crystal. "Thank you, little star," he whispered. And then he closed his eyes. His chest rose, then fell, and did not rise again. The next morning, the villagers climbed the ridge after Hannah ran back in tears. They found Elijah seated peacefully, a smile on his face. And beside him, the glowing crystal. Except now, it floated in the air. And in the sky above, just before the sun rose, a single streak of light flashed across the stars. A ship? A comet? No one could be sure, but some swore. They saw a figure in that light. Silver, hair, glowing skin, eyes that had once stared at a human with wonder and now with love. The body was buried under the stone circle and the crystal. It remained, glowing, waiting. Watching. Years later. A museum opened near the ridge. Tourists came to see the man who held the star. Children pointed at the floating crystal, forever suspended in the same place it was found. Scientists called it an unexplained phenomenon. Locals called it a gift. And on quiet nights, when the moon was high and the world was still, some visitors swore they heard something. A voice. Soft, warm, loving. I never forgot you. And in the glow of the crystal, they could almost see him, Elijah, sitting with her once again. Smiling. Together. Not in gold or in memory, but in the stars.